Good morning, folks. What a beautiful day. High atop West Michigan in downtown Grand Rapids. The sun is shining. We couldn't ask for more, but we'll get it anyway. Lots of news to cover. It is, again, another one of those days. Drinking from a fire hose. We'll keep you updated with everything you need to know. Here's the short and sweet part of it. 26,000, nearly 26,000 dead voters still on the voter rolls. A lawsuit looking to get them off, and yet Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson fighting that. We'll explain how she lost the first round and what comes next. On the way this morning. All right, the stories that matter most. You'll be talking about these around the water cooler, the dinner table, no matter where you are. These stories all powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. You know, I've been warning you for quite a while now, and lots of folks taking advantage of my advice and calling those folks at Heartland Home Mortgage. The good guys, the team, Dave Galloway and the folks, they're saving thousands. There's still time. It's not too late. They still may be able to put a little bit more money back in your pocket, especially as things continue to swing and prices on everything continue to raise through the roof, like the Biden inflation that we continue to see. It's not backing down. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But you still have a bit of time to get prepared, folks. Call them today at 616-974-9105. Or go online to hhmlending.com. That's Heartland Home Mortgage. Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the former Soviet Union from 85 to 91, dead at the age of 91 today. After a long illness, Russian state news agencies reporting on Tuesday. Was that CNN? No, that must be a different network. Gorbachev is credited with introducing key political and economic reforms to USSR and helping to end the Cold War, they say. Gorby. I just remember him. Well, Gorby. The standoff between him and, of course, and Reagan. And during I remember as a kid, for some reason, I was young at the time, being very worried about nuclear war for whatever reason. My parents at the time had to calm me down, tell me everything was going to be all right. Well, they were wrong. Everything is not all right. Kidding. The Board of State Canvassers meeting today, speaking of which, to discuss a radical abortion petition that's set to be on November's ballot if all goes through. It's so radical, it takes parental consent away from the parents, not just in those cases, but in several other medical issues, including transitions. So, yes, your child's body can be mutilated without you ever knowing about it. And it's all set to be on the ballot if everything goes through. The proposal being challenged by citizens to support Michigan women and children who argue the petitions remove spaces from the text approved of the Bureau of Elections. They didn't dot all their I's and cross all their T's, so to speak. The Bureau of Elections recommended that the Board of State Canvassers approve the measure. However, the board doesn't always have to follow that Bureau's recommendations. And if the board deadlocks on the petition, the issue would head off to the courts. They're asking today for a call to action here, folks, to call. Actually get on the phone and call the Michigan Board of Canvassers in order to stop the Reproductive Freedom for All Amendment. Faith to Action Michigan issuing that call to action. Whether that works or not, we'll continue to keep you updated with the latest on that as well. Last but not least, yes, it's true, folks. To me, I think it's obvious. The FBI didn't find what they were looking for at Mar-a-Lago, and now they've said so. Get this. This is the story that came out of CNN, and I just put the pieces together. I think it's kind of funny. U.S. government documents at former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence were, quote, likely concealed and removed from a storage room as part of an effort to, quote-unquote, obstruct the FBI's investigation of Trump's potential mishandling of classified materials. That's what the DOJ is saying in a filing, according to reports last night. The filing represents the DOJ's strongest case to date that Trump, they say, concealed classified. First of all, they said he had it. Do you remember what it was? He had the new codes. The new codes were at Mar-a-Lago. Now they didn't find him, so they say he's probably hiding them. You can't make this up. They didn't find what they're looking for, so they're making the case that he's hiding it. And all of this was about the National Archives? Come on, give me a break. This all boils down to Trump's big, brilliant move to have a master appointed. This would be somebody who would oversee the documents that were taken, and of course, what the FBI and the Justice Department would be able to look through, what they would be able to get, and what they would be able to use. Now, they've already dug through quite a bit of it already. So, yeah, I mean, case has already begun, but there's more on the table than that. See, what they're asking to be done would really move this case out of the hands of Trump hater. He's recused himself once. Magistrate Bruce Reinhart, the man who worked for and with Jeffrey Epstein. He was overseeing the case, and I know there's a lot to swallow on this, so if you're just tuning in, that's why I go through this over and over again. And if you've been paying attention, then probably understand this. I have to say it because there are people that don't get it, but this magistrate who's not appointed by a president, this is somebody who is appointed by another judge, another federal judge. His name's Bruce Reinhart. He was working for Jeffrey Epstein at one point. He had to recuse himself from the latest case. This was a case where Trump was suing Hillary Clinton, the DNC, and, of course, many others, and it was a RICO case. It was all about the Russian hoax, the Russian collusion hoax. Remember all that? Well, turns out there was a lawsuit. Trump was moving forward this, and, of course, Bruce Reinhart, he was the guy overseeing it, and just recently had to step away and say, no, I can't do it because of previous issues. And, of course, his stance on Trump, where things that he may have put online, etc. Yet he's okay to order the FBI raid, the historical, unprecedented FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, Trump's home. He's okay to order that. So the move is pretty brilliant. The special master that would be appointed can't be appointed by a magistrate like Magistrate Reinhart. Cannot be appointed by them. So it'd have to be moved into the hands of another judge. His attorney's apparently very smart in the way they're doing this. I know this is a lot of behind the scenes. I know this is a lot of some of this gets into weeds, but this is what is actually happening. CNN, the nightly news, Lester Holt, your local schmo, whoever it might be that's on television, it's not going to tell you any of this. They don't get it. In fact, they probably got TDR, trunk derangement syndrome anyway. They're not going to tell you any of these things. But this is the truth behind what's happening and some of the things that you won't hear anywhere else. Giving you context. The stories you won't hear anywhere else, and, of course, giving you context to some of the other things that you are. You're just not getting the full story. By the way, when they leave things out, I was told a lie is a lie. When you lie by omission and you leave things out, you're doing it on purpose. And it's a lie is a lie is a lie. And either way, whether you're flat out just not telling the truth, you're telling untruths, or you are lying by omission, you are misleading the American people, and it's wrong. And these folks know that they've been doing it because of their political ideology, what they've been doing, how they're working as an arm of the left. They know what they've been doing for years now. It's a shame. But we just won't let them get away with it, will we? So there you have it. That is the latest. The FBI, and I think it's pretty clear at this point, they've admitted they didn't find what they were looking for. And there you have it. Now, what happens next is up in the air. We don't know. One of the reasons why you want to get this transferred, or why the attorneys want to get this transferred away from this magistrate's hands, is he's conflicted. He should have recused himself in the first place. It never should have ended up in his hands. Matter of fact, it looks like the FBI and the Justice Department shopped this around, trying to get judges to pick it up, and they weren't able to find anybody. Finally, they settled on Magistrate Bruce Reinhart, who worked for Jeffrey Epstein and, of course, had a problem, had to recuse himself in the other case with Trump. So he picked it up. So now they're trying to get it out of his hands and into another judge's hands. One of the judges that's looking over this right now, it looks like there'll be another hearing tomorrow. And one of the judges that would take this case looks to be a Trump-appointed judge. Now, this doesn't necessarily say 100% that, of course, everything's going to be fine and a Trump-appointed judge is going to do the right thing. We don't know that. In fact, they may go the opposite direction in order to prove that they are above the fray. Fair and balanced. That's what folks on the right often do. They want to make sure that, we got to make sure we're above reproach here. There's nothing to see here in all of this mess. Now, folks on the left will blatantly and openly fight for the left. It's completely different in so many different ways. But this is a little look into the window of the strategy that's going on. Oh, and by the way, there's more in the FBI. There's more in the FBI you're going to want to hear. There's more to this story. In fact, we're starting to learn some of the information that the whistleblowers have brought forward, and Senator Ron Johnson writing letters to the FBI. We know one of those agents stepping down so he could keep his pension on Friday. T-Boat is his name. Disgraced former FBI agent. A lot of these folks are good people, but there are some bad apples in the bunch that are giving the rest a bad name. And of course, there are some very politically charged and motivated folks at the top in some of these levels of what they might call the deep state. These are just unelected bureaucrats. These are bureaucrats who never want to go anywhere. And of course, they are working behind the scenes to make sure that they won't. Well, we got some reports on what some of those whistleblowers are doing, according to the FBI. We got that coming up. An election integrity report. Safe, secure elections. That's what we should all want, no matter who we are, Democrats, Republicans. Well, the latest about dead people and how they might possibly be able to vote. Coming out 9:35.
Asking the tough questions. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Golden Ticket is back again at GLC this September. Play for $100,000.
All right, folks, welcome in. Appreciate you being here with us this morning. Got the phones fired up. Also going to be able to join us on the Talkback feature. We appreciate you being here with us. Oh, I've got big news. Speaking of the FBI, I've got big news. Actually, I've got a couple of big stories for you. So first, we'll start with this. Start with this one first. New T-shirts. New T-shirts hitting the store. Lots of changes still yet to come to the store, but new T-shirts. We got a couple of them here. I'll just show you. A couple of new tees. JustinBarclay.com inside the store. If you can see, one says unredacted, which is what this show is. Full unredacted, uncensored, nothing left out. And then you have the redacted version, which is, I love this. The lines, everything crossed out, and what's left was Make America Great Again. Plus, one of my all-time favorites has to be this one. This is the FBI Biden shirt. You can get your FBI Biden shirt along with the others at justinbarclay.com. We got a couple of different colors in here too, but I thought you might want to see those. justinbarclay.com. Now, one more other thing before you rush off to grab your shirt. One more other thing. In a time when everybody else is raising their prices, we've actually lowered ours. The sale price on these, the normal price always is $35. That's just because that's where they set them. Now, $27 is what the sale price has been on these shirts. I've lowered them. We had a bit of a $20 T-shirt sale that happened this summer. I had to get rid of a few shirts too, but we've lowered the price now to $24.99. So when people are out there raising the price on everything, we could go the other way. And in fact, that is my plan. So that's what we've done. We've actually got some new shirts, and the price is much cheaper. All right, I got to get kicked off the rest of the show here. Stand by. We're going back live. Phone lines open right now at 616-774-2424. Jump in and join us there. You can also sound off. You can rant, rave. You can ask a question, anything you'd like, courtesy of our talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. Just click that microphone there next to the play button, and you can send us a message. I'd love to hear from you. Coming up, the election integrity, 26,000 dead, still on the voter rolls. Jocelyn Benson wants this lawsuit thrown out so that she can keep those dead people on the voter roll. You got to ask yourself why. That's a little strange, isn't it? I mean, even for Jocelyn Benson, why would they want that on the voter roll? Why would you want dead people on the voter rolls? Lord, when I die, don't let me vote Democrat. That's kind of been the funniest thing for a long time now, but it's true. It makes you think about some of these things, doesn't it? FBI whistleblowers blowing the whistle. Senator Ron Johnson last week filing off multiple letters to the DOJ about the FBI whistleblowers, what they told him about the Hunter Biden laptop investigation. We shared with some of that with you yesterday. In fact, they knew about it. They had the laptop since 2019 and didn't do anything. They slow walked this. That's what they called it. They slow walked it. Didn't touch it until after the election. Now, how is it that you and I knew about the laptop? Everyone else, in fact, the FBI went to Zuckerberg at Facebook and told him, there's some Russian disinformation coming out. Don't put that out there. We can't have that out there. Don't let it go. Of course, Twitter stopped it from getting out there. Now we know 80% of Americans would have voted differently. They said they would have voted. It would have changed the way. So think about that. Why was the FBI getting involved? Well, turns out they were doing a lot of things that were kind of interesting. Johnson wrote after the FBI obtained the Hunter Biden laptop from Wilmington, Delaware computer shop. These whistleblowers stated that the local FBI leadership told employees, you will not look at the Hunter Biden laptop and that the FBI is not going to change the outcome of the election. Again. Wait a minute. Again. Decisions based on how they affect an election sure sounds like politics to me, but what do I know? Further, these whistleblowers allege that the FBI did not begin to examine the contents until after the election in 2020. Interesting. Multiple FBI whistleblowers. This is a completely different letter than the one Grassley sent back in DOJ. Multiple FBI whistleblowers, including those in senior positions, are raising the alarm about tampering by senior FBI and Justice Department officials in politically sensitive investigations, ranging from election and campaign finance probes across multiple election cycles. Politics again. Whistleblowers described a culture of corruption at the FBI field office as, quote, completely out of control. Among the many of out-of-control hijinks whistleblowers reported were going on down the local FBI field offices include that supervisors forced or coerced agents to sign false affidavits, fabricated terrorism cases to pump up performance statistics, sexually harassed and stalked a female agent, engaged in sexual acts with a subordinate in a government vehicle, and crashed the vehicle. The whistleblowers who alleged the FBI was literally making up cases at one point because Washington was rewarding high domestic terrorism investigation numbers. Here was the quote. You have to have so many terrorism cases per year in your office or else you fail. One whistleblower testified in an affidavit, so they would come to us and say things like, open up a case. I don't care if it's got merit or not. Just open it up. We only have 9, and we need 10 more for me to pass. What an incredible, explosive set of facts, isn't it? There you have it, folks. Some of the latest from FBI whistleblowers. Same guy who ran the FBI Governor Whitmer alleged fednapping plot here, ran the Detroit field office here in our state. Same guy got promoted to Washington, D.C., and was the head of that field office just before and during the January 6th shenanigans. There's a fact pattern emerging here, folks. I don't know about you. I'm not the smartest. I may be not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but boy, oh boy, something is really rotten in Denmark. Speaking of which, why would the Secretary of State of Michigan, who says she wants free and fair election, why would Jocelyn Benson want dead people on the voter rolls? Our next guest filed a lawsuit to get nearly 26,000 removed from our voter rolls. Benson wants the lawsuit dismissed. We'll continue, folks. Back with this in moments. All right, folks. What a day. Am I right? What a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. All right, let me check real quickly here for our next guest. Let's see if we can get this person on the line real quick. Okay, let me go through and say good morning to a few folks, if I may. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Matt, good morning, brother. I appreciate you and Sherry. Bear Country is cutting off natural gas to France. There was a lot happening there. That's true. A lot of shenanigans happening over in Europe. Cindy, Marge, Tammy, Teresa, Liberty and Dale, Karen and Mary and Michelle. Appreciate y'all being here with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me see who else is the Rumblers weighing in this morning. Roxanne, Brumbies fan. Luscious Linda Ray. Nancy, good to see you too. Blue Angel, Charmaine, Terry Paul, and many, many others. Stop PC. Over on Getter, the Getter stream this morning. Alex, Nana K, Tanya, Free at Heart, Getter Girl. Hey, Getter Girl. Lots of folks jumping in. Appreciate you being here with us today. You can jump in too. Oh, we got a whole slew of things that Biden was mumbling about over the last couple of days. So we'll try and get to those too coming up this morning. If people sent me messages yesterday, are you really texting me about our elections? Yes, that was me. Brand new phone line. Brand new phone line. And in fact, I'm gonna update you on the new number. Last text, let's see, the last text number we had, and that actually this one's going to give me a lot more flexibility. The last number we had was company that runs it just they just did some revamping. And they had to, I don't know, they had to nearly double their prices, and that was with a discount. And I don't know. I had to look at different options. So we were out a text line for, man, I'm going to say almost a month. So here's your new number. Put it in your phone. Save me in your phone. 616-636-1676. Now I wish I could have had 1776, but these are just easier to remember. So I can say it on the air. It'll be easier. 616-636-1676. So they kind of they gave us a group of numbers we can pick from, and that was the one that looked like it was easiest to remember. So as you see there, you can text me, I can text you, and in fact, we can have conversations back and forth. Let me see if I can pull it up here this morning. But what I can do is I can read your text messages as they come in. They really go fast. But I can send you messages too. I probably won't send as many because something has happened that made the price of all this go through the roof. So I have to really be careful when I send text blasts out. But I can still have great conversations with you. Robert says no rumble at all. Is Rumble rumbling, rumblers? Oh, it looks like it's rumbling. So that must have been earlier. Yeah, it took a minute to get it back up. So now we're there. If you're watching on Rumble, make sure that you click the plus button down here. Make sure you click subscribe if you haven't already. We continue to grow there. And join us on Locals, too. You'll see that Locals button. Lots of exclusive information getting posted over on Locals that I think you're going to really enjoy. Lots of things we're going to be sharing with you there as well. Stand by. I got a lot to cover. I got to jump on, make sure we got our guest up here next. I think we're good to go. Here we go.
Everyone can save 25% on their first year of protection with promo code BACK at LifeLock.com. LifeLock.com, promo code BACK. Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and I invite you to join me along with Stu this morning at 10:06 for the very latest on the news, what's happening, commentary, and making sense of the world. It's aptly named the Glenn Beck Program. Coming up, Wood Radio.
Biden's been mumbling and bumbling about quite a bit over the last couple of days. We'll get to that coming up. Plus, in California, they're now saying, you remember they just a couple of days ago said, we want all electric cars, no gas-powered vehicles by 2035. And you're going to love it, or else. That's what Gruesome Newsom made that announcement just the other day in California. Now we're hearing that they don't have enough power in California right now to power everything that they have, let alone those Teslas all by 2035. Don't get me wrong. I like the Teslas. I think they're neat cars. I just, I'm going to be practical about this. I don't think we have. Where's the juice come from? I think everything that they've done to cripple our power grid in so many different ways. I mean, it's just it's like we can't keep things running now. Now they're saying because of the heat in California, the folks are going to have to turn their thermostats back and all this. It's the same old, same old. I'll bring you up to speed on that. Speaking of which, stay connected no matter whether it's a government-caused power, man-made or natural disaster, Biden-made or natural disaster. Stay connected either way. With a whole home generator, you've been looking at this. Maybe you're thinking about it. The storms we had the other day, some folks still without power, most back on though. But, you would never have lost a minute. You never would have missed a minute with a whole home generator. Look at this, thinking about it. ProTech Heating and Cooling can set you straight. Visit protechgr.com or call 616-453-5000 for the folks I trust. ProTech Heating and Cooling. It's one of the biggest stories, and it's not getting covered, by the way. Nearly 26,000 dead people still on Michigan's voter rolls And it's, it's interesting to see for me. Jocelyn Benson wants him there. She doesn't want to remove him. Well, there's a lawsuit asking for those folks to be taken off the rolls. J. Christian Adams joins us right now. He's at the forefront of this. In fact, he's leading the charge. Public Interest Legal Forum. Jake, appreciate you being here with us this morning. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
So nearly 26,000. I read this. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. 26,000 dead people still on the voter rolls. You said, it's time to clean these up. Let's do the right thing. But Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is fighting you tooth and nail on this.
Well, this case was filed over 2 years ago before the 2020 election. And you're right. There's not a lot of interest, it seems, in cleaning the rolls. These are dead people. We did research using all kinds of public record databases, credit agency databases, Social Security databases. Some of these people are dead for over 20 years. I mean, we actually have gravestones, photos of gravestones in our complaint. These people have been dead going back 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, and they're just sitting there on the voter rolls.
It's incredible. So I'm paying attention to this. I saw the story. She wanted you to stop this. The Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson wanted the case dismissed. You guys got a big win last week when the judge said, no, this can move forward.
Yeah, I mean, there was all these efforts to get out of it by saying that, like, we have a program, leave us alone, which is a favorite canard of bad state election officials. And in this particular instance, the program is obviously not working, right? The proof is in the pudding. If you've got this many dead people on the active voter rolls, then you've got a problem.
J. Christian Adams is with us right now from the Public Interest Legal Forum. So is Michigan the only place this is happening, or is this happening all across the country?
Well, it varies. The Public Interest Legal Foundation has a lawsuit right now against Pennsylvania that's very similar, but at least Pennsylvania is taking efforts to settle the case. And so we found the same problem in Pennsylvania, where not only were there dead people on the voter rolls from 20 years ago, we actually found dead people registering to vote. And I suspect that's also happening in Michigan. But in Pennsylvania, they actually would register after death. Some people got arrested because of this from our lawsuit. In other words, we found the criminals that the state never seemed to be able to find. So we have a track record of accuracy and success. And unfortunately, Michigan still hasn't cleaned up their dead registrants.
So I've got to ask you what seems to be sort of an obvious question here, but why would they want dead people on the voter rolls, Jay?
Well, I think it's more that they don't want to admit they did anything wrong. I think I don't think they actually, well, I mean, you can never tell, can you? But I don't think they actually want the dead people on. I just think if there are 25,000 dead people, it ruins the story that everything's unicorns and fairy tales and flowers and big puffy clouds with our elections, doesn't it? It undermines the narrative of so many people that there's nothing to see here. And I think that probably explains a lot of what's going on.
So you continue to fight here. What's the next step in the case here?
Well, I hope the next step is that the case is settled quickly and all of these dead registrants are removed. That would be the ideal step. Somehow, I don't think that's going to happen. And if so, we'll just continue to press on and until the job gets done.
President and legal general counsel there, J. Christian Adams, the Public Interest Legal Forum Foundation. Let me ask you, if they were going to make this practice a normal everyday thing, as you said, they have programs to do this. Well, they're not very effective. How should they go about doing this?
Yeah, well, part of the problem is they're outsourcing a lot of their list maintenance. In other words, they're having third parties do it to clean up the rolls, which is a bad policy if you don't show the public how that's going. And one of the problems is they're not being transparent with those records. But they just are in a they are in a defensive crouch because they would rather not remove someone who's eligible than to, they don't care about people staying on the voter rolls as long as nobody who might be eligible is removed. They're afraid of their own mistakes. That's the problem here, is they don't think they can walk and chew gum at the same time, and they're just so scared that one person might be taken off improperly. But that's why you do your job better, right? You don't get scared of driving and stay in the house all day. You don't get scared of going outside. You get the job done and you do the job correctly.
Got to get this cleaned up, Jay. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Jay Christian Adams with the Public Interest Legal Foundation. Appreciate it. Yeah, make it a great day. God bless. There you go. Folks, I got to tell you, I know he didn't want to come out right out and say it. 26,000 dead. They're involved in a lawsuit right now. But from what I understand, and the people that allege fraud, they talk about how it happens. It starts with the qualified voter file, which would include all of these nearly 26,000 dead that they've identified. Those are just the ones they have identified. He mentioned there's some talk that they are registering dead people as well. Why is that important? Part of the scam when it comes to elections is the qualified voter file. You got to get that cleaned up. And I know Christina Caramo, who's running for Secretary of State, has mentioned she will do everything she can to get that qualified voter file cleaned up, and so that we have free and fair and safe and secure elections for everybody, Democrats included, independents, Republicans, all of us. It's a matter of national security. It's a matter of national survival. It's got to get done. What they do when they play these games, it's been alleged, they have a pool of people with which to deal with. These are registered voters, dead or alive. And now the tech is so good, they can tell you via algorithm who's going to vote, whether they voted or not in the last, I don't know how many elections, whether they'll vote in this election. So they can pull at the last minute those. And now we have drop boxes and ballots they can just drop off into boxes and anywhere else. They can print them on demand if they need to now, too, which is something else that's really fascinating about some of the equipment that's being used. But all they have to do is cross-reference. And how could you do that? Well, it's very simple. You would use big tech. You would use data. You might use somebody like Mark Zuckerberg to make that happen. That's why it's more important now than ever that we get those folks off the dead nearly 26,000 people off of the voter rolls. It makes you wonder, why in the world would Jocelyn Benson or anyone else be against it? More with you next. We're going to jump on the phones at 616-774-2424. You can also text me. We got a brand new text number just added last night. That number is 616-636-1676. How about that? Join in, save my number, send me a text message. I can see what you send me on the air. You can make comments, and I can send you messages back, too. Back with more after this. All right, folks. Appreciate you being here with us. Yes. Oh, goodness. Got some Biden clips we got to get to this morning, too. Excuse me for the dead air, but you're watching the behind-the-scenes live stream, which shows you all the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything that happens behind the scenes. You get kind of like an up-close and personal, a front-row seat to what we're doing behind the scenes here. Not only here on West Michigan Live, which is aired locally on News Radio Wood 1300 1069 FM, and also the iHeartRadio app, but you also get to the after show, which is the podcast we record. So a daily show that happens about 10 o'clock. We got a jam-packed after show for you today. If this is your first time here, appreciate you being here with us. My name's Justin Barclay. And I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot to cover. A lot to cover today. A Rona report. Things are really heating up. Oh, I just saw something interesting. Thanks to Kristen Megan, she sent me this. Let's see. Let me pull this up here. Yeah. I'm going to have to tweet this so you can see it. They'll stop at nothing. Here we go, folks. Back on the air. Got a jam-packed after show headed your way this morning, folks. I love to get into all that. You can join us, the jam-packed after show. Phone calls all coming up in just moments as well. Yes, at Mr. Justin Barclay, we're streaming behind the scenes live stream right now. I'm going to show a little video, a bit of a picture and image on the screen. This is for the Rona report coming up in the after show today. Got a good one. UC Berkeley mask requirements. Check this out. UC Berkeley masks are required during flu season, if not jab. This is how insane it's gotten. So now, if you haven't been jabbed for the flu, they're going to tell you, UC Berkeley, you've got to wear a mask. It wasn't just the emergency that is the Rona. It is now trickled down to even the flu, which I can't tell you when the last time I got a flu shot was. Kristen Megan Kelly sent me this morning, and I about spit my coffee out. I just thought, there we go. Of course. Of course. None of this is a lot. The CDC is even backing away from masks. By the way, the intrepid Kristen Megan Kelly and Tammy Clark, the industrial hygienists who have been at the forefront of this on the front lines, they did a frontline industrial hygienist event here in West Michigan. You can see and hear and pass it around everything because we're supposed to talk to the experts. Remember, listen to the experts. Well, you can hear what the experts actually had to say about all these things, and you can pass it around. If you have an institution or an organization someplace where you are, your kids are going, that are continuing to push this nonsense, you can get the truth. StandUpMichigan.com is where the videos are posted. StandUpMichigan.com. Let's jump over to the phone lines real quick. Let's grab some phone calls. Dave is on line one. Dave, good morning. Appreciate you being here with us this morning. How are you? Hey, Dave? Is it Dave? Oh, no. You know what? I think that's... Let's try this. Dave?
Hello.
How are you, Dave? We got you.
Good. Hey, thank you for taking my call. I appreciate you getting up early and doing your show.
My pleasure.
I wanted to chime in on the, I think it's, 87,000 IRS agents. Anybody ever checked this whether what Hitler had for his SS group? The other thing is, I think they're being created to take away our guns. They have nothing to do with collecting your $10 worth of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Just leaving that out there for you.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's an interesting point. The other thing that folks would note, and Dave ran off. I was going to give him a mug. Hey, if he calls back, will you grab him and get his phone? I'm just going to give him a mug. I got new Justin mugs. One that says Justin, and one says Faith, Family, and Freedom with the American flag. I was going to give him one. Good point. The other point is that a lot of people don't realize this, but you know those they just did those $10,000 of debt forgiveness. Well, they transferred it over to you and me and the taxpayers, right? That's with the student loan debt. Did you know that's income? The IRS actually counts that as income. So now it starts to make more sense. So they're coming after some of that, and the state governments might as well. Mark is on the phone this morning. Mark, I appreciate you calling in. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thanks for the call. What can I do for you?
Well, I just wanted to remind your audience that with leftists, liberals, or Democrats, whatever you want to call them, they'll never tell you what their end game is. The important thing is to find out what the end game is. And the point I wanted to make is electric cars are not the end game.
What's the end game?
I'll just tell you a real short story. I have an 84-year-old aunt who visited us in the early 70s that lived in Romania. And she was telling us, well, the only time that she ever rode in a car was to go to the airport to come to the United States. So that tells you how poor they were. But to go from one village to the next in Romania, you had to see the representative of the party in your village, and you had to get a permit to go from one village to the next. They want to know where you were going, who you were going to talk to, what you were going to do, when are you coming home. And it's the whole idea of it's mobility. Mobility is a bad thing, to be able to get from point A to point B. You can't be controlled. Electric cars the first step.
Yeah,
ask a young person in Europe or a college person, where's the party tonight? You just look for the house with all the mopeds parked in front. Young kids don't have cars. They can't afford them.
Yeah. This is a great point.
And that would be, and electric mopeds would be the next step. And then after that, it'd be bicycles and then walking.
Mark,
that's what they want.
I appreciate the call. Hang on. We'll get your information. I'm going to get you a mug as well. This is the point I made all along. What this is all about, every bit of everything that we're seeing, the Green New Deal, the Great Reset, whatever you want to call it. It's all about control. And look, you have another issue, a pandemic, or maybe it's a climate emergency, and we got to shut things down that you can't drive your car, your electric car. Because everything's plugged into the grid. We won't let you have enough energy to charge it. We'll be able to control every piece of that. Yes, you're right. It's all about control, every bit of it. I was just mentioning in California, a new public announcement from California's power grid operator warns that high temperatures are stressing the grid out. Consumers might have to reduce their power use during flex times. Now, we have those here, too. But in California, they got all those wind turbines, and they've got the solar, and they got all the sun they need in California. Why in the world would they not have a problem producing power? During a flex alert, consumers are urged to reduce energy from 4 to 9 p.m. when the system is most stressed. And by the way, that's when you need it the most. If you're running your air conditioning, that's when you need it the most. You're urged to reduce your energy 4 to 9 p.m. when the system is most stressed because demand for electricity remains high and there is less solar energy available. The top 3 conservation actions are to set thermostats to 78 degrees or higher, avoid using large appliances, and charging electric vehicles. California just came out and said they want every vehicle sold after 2035 to be electric. No gas-powered vehicles. Imagine that. Here we go again. So, you're just too dumb to understand. It's your fault. All of this. Every single bit of it is your fault. Gruesome Newsom in California. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one. That's it. Oh, it's all your fault. You see, you want to charge your car. You got to reduce that. Even though we're literally getting energy from the sun at this point, they say, at least in California, right? That's what they're doing. It's all your fault, folks. This is a problem. A Rona report you won't want to miss, and a brand new song. In fact, I'll play you just a bit of it. I saw this morning on Locals. By the way, if you haven't followed us over there yet, do it. JustinBarclay.com/locals. Patrick Byrne posted this, and I couldn't help but spit my coffee out. It's called Sad Little Man, and it's all about St. Anthony of Wuhan. We have a Rona report on tap. Coming up in the after show after 10.
Sad little man sitting deep in a lie. He's dead in his soul, but he'll keep you alive. Do what he says, not what he do. Cause the truth is for him and the lie is for you. Sad little man, but he's treated like a god. As the faithless pray to a fake and a fraud.
Wow, it is really something. I'll play a little bit more of that during the Rona report. The high priest of health, St. Anthony, Wuhan. Little news. We'll get to that in the Rona report as well. The after show. It's the show after the show. Kicking off next. Back tomorrow morning at 9:06, God willing. Make it a great day, folks. God bless. Okay. Let's see. Hang on. Can you give line 2, get the information for line 2 so we can send them something too? And just let line 3 know that they can call tomorrow. We'll pick up from there. All right, folks. Let me get the after show fired up. Welcome to the after show. It is the show after the show. That's why we call it the after show. There's never a dull moment. Yes. That hour that we have is just not enough time to get to everything that's on our list. We're doing our best to make sure that we cover it all, folks. Coming up, by the way, we talked a little bit about it earlier today. The FBI just didn't have enough. They didn't find what they were looking for at Mar-a-Lago, and now they're saying that's why Trump can't go through and decide with a special master. They can't appoint a special master because we didn't find everything. He hid it. He hid it from us. Clearly, he doesn't deserve a special master. I went through all of it. I'm not going to belabor it and go through it again, but it's very specific, the strategy that they used. Trump lawyers, very smart, brilliant stuff. A water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, energy crisis in California, and prices through the roof with everything. Oh, I got some good news too. Did you see, since we were just talking about it, did you see, because California now wants folks to turn their thermostats down because they don't have enough power right now. They want folks to turn their thermostats down. This is really funny. Roger Dean Chevrolet, the cost of a battery. A guy has put this online for everybody. See, I guess it's ahead of Chevy Volt. The cost of the battery. $29,842.15. $30,000 for a new battery. You could buy a whole new car for that. By the way, look at the taxes on it. Nearly $2,000 in taxes. $30,000 for a battery on an electric car. Even there was yesterday I saw this, but even Elon Musk is on Twitter talking about, we can't do this, folks. This is insanity. And he says, look, I'm an electric car guy. But this is insanity where we're headed right now. We're off the rails. We're off the rockers. And he says civilization will not continue if we don't continue to use the sources of energy that we have now. This is a guy whose cars run on electric. And he even says so. He says, look, it's not going to sound, it's not going to make a lot of sense, especially coming from me. But, we've got to do this. He's also tweeted about population collapse due to low birth rates. This was just the other day. Population collapse coming due to low birth rates. Elon Musk tweets, population collapse due to low birth rates is a much bigger risk to civilization than global warming. Mark these words. And I do think global warming is a major risk, he says. And then he goes on to say in another tweet altogether that what we're doing when it comes to some of these energy issues is bad news. Countries should be increasing nuclear power generation. It's insane from a national security standpoint and bad for the environment to shut them down. As a guy who makes the case for electric, some of this, woke, crazy, wild energy stuff is just, it's insane. Elon Musk says so. The batteries in some of these, now he'll never admit this. The batteries in some of these cars are so expensive. Not only are they expensive, the minerals and the things that you have to get to mine them, to get the batteries produced, and then what you have to do to recycle or get rid of those and dispose of them at some point is just crazy. All of this while Legacy says over on, I think it's Steve's over on Rumble says, Artemis launch rescheduled for Saturday. Somebody asked me the other day, why are we spending all this money on this? And I go, well, what would you like to spend it on? Notice nobody ever says, well, maybe we shouldn't spend the money. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should give the money back to the people. No, maybe we shouldn't spend the money. Instead, they're saying, no, let's spend it on climate change, or, let's spend it on, I don't know, something, poverty. Let's spend it on fighting poverty. These are all things that never really work out. These are all, you remember the war on drugs? War on drugs. Oh, yeah, it really worked out well. War on poverty, same way. No, give the money back to the people. Let them figure it out. Let them have a chance to have control of their own money. Tammy says these electric vehicle batteries will be in a landfill. They're not safe to dispose of. How is that for saving the earth? Denise says, end game is to control where we go and what we do. Kill switch. Shelley says, Elon Musk wouldn't even have a company without government funding. Patty says, shockingly, my home gas bill this month was only $37. I was surprised because I've been running my furnace constantly for my AC. That's interesting. My consumer's bill, this is the electric, I think, already out of sight. No electric BS for me. Yeah, well, it's gone up even more, Sherry. Great point. And it's gone up. You know why? Is because they got rid of all the electric that was the power that was sustainable, reliable, all that junk, the buzzwords they use. Reliable and cheap. That's what I care. You think they are pushing this agenda like we care. We don't care about it. And then they go out and they buy commercials with the money we've already given them to push and propagandize to us that we want rain, wind, solar, and unicorn farts, and we just don't. Here's what we want. We want affordable energy. We want reliable energy. We don't want to lose or have to turn down our thermostat or up or whatever it might be. It's just nutty. Anyway, some of the latest. We've got a Rona report we're going to get to coming up in just a moment as well. But $30,000 for a replacement battery on an electric vehicle, the Chevy Volt. $30,000. $30,000. More in the Rona report coming up here in just moments as well. I don't know. Maybe I should play some of this. Maybe I should share some. I'll play the Fauci song because people were I think digging the Fauci song earlier. I just saw this posted online on Patrick Burns' site. We'll get to that. Hang on a second. Let's fire things up. It's a Rona report. Yes, folks. The high priest to hell himself, St. Anthony of Wuhan. Mr. Booster Tony Fauci. Hey. Thank you, Anderson. It's good to be. I'm leaving soon. But in the meantime, it's good to be. I'm the highest paid employee in the federal government. Look at me. Why would I ever leave? Do you know how much he's going to be paid when he leaves? His pension is through the roof. I think the pension is still more than what the president made. Unbelievable. Here's that video. I played a little bit of this earlier. Hilarious.
Sad little man sitting deep in a lie. He's dead in his soul, but he'll keep you alive. Do what he says, not what he do, 'cause the truth is for him and the lie is for you. Sad little man, but he's treated like a god as the faithless prey to a fake and a fraud. Worship the man, pledge to his word. One shot, two shot, now you get a third. Sad little man, you better run now while you know you can. Sad little man, you don't fool me, you sad little man.
Mr. Booster.
Sad little man, gonna trap you like a dog, put your head in while they eat you raw. Don't ask why, just comply, 'cause fear is the drug that the doctor prescribe. Sad little man, you can watch him on the news, preaching to his choir while they learn the rules. Some feel safe and some feel healed, but they'll all hold his hand as he makes the kill. Sad little man, you better run now while you know you can. Sad little man, you don't fool me, you sad little man. Sad little man, and he wants your kids. Some might live while the rest get sick. So put them to the test and listen for the yell. When the truth comes out, he's gonna burn in hell. Sad little man, you better run now while you know you can. Sad little man, you don't fool me, you sad little man.
Saint Anthony of Wuha.
You can't fool me, you sad little man.
Man, that's fire. I love that. I'll put a link to it in our let's see. I guess I'll put a link to it in the stack. You can check that out on Locals if you want to get it. Is it on YouTube? No, I actually saw it on Locals. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who originally did it, but Patrick Byrne had posted it. I thought, I got to share that. It's too good not to. So where should we start today? It is a jam-packed Rona report. I've got some things that I've been holding off on for a couple of days, and I've got some other things that I wanted to make sure that I get in today. Some news stories. Life expectancy in the U.S. has dropped for the second year in a row from 77 years in 2020 to 76.1 years in 2021. New numbers showing it's part of the biggest continuous decline in U.S. life expectancy at birth since the early 1920s. What could possibly be causing that? The Washington Post says the coronavirus pandemic is the single biggest contributor. Notice, folks, it's the pandemic. You know, they blame the pandemic for everything. It's the pandemic. The pandemic did it. The pandemic is the problem. The pandemic is to blame. Oh, it's the pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic shut things down. The pandemic, it's the one that caused your kids not to be able to go to school. The pandemic is what caused learning loss. It's the pandemic. Oh, boy. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens next. What's the pandemic going to do? We're not even in the pandemic anymore, but what is the pandemic going to do next? The pandemic is the reason why inflation is through the roof. The pandemic is the reason why you're paying more at the pump. The pandemic is the reason why you're paying more at grocery stores. It's the pandemic, folks. The pandemic. Nobody ever calls it like it is. Nobody ever tells the truth on this. And what's the truth? It's not the pandemic. It was the overreaction, the response specifically, or overreaction from elected and unelected, the bureaucrats and the crony politicians who joined in lockstep with a lot of these big corporations. They seized today, the day, really, to move forward on the plans that they'd had sitting on the shelf for years. So that's how we get to where we are now. And of course, they blame the pandemic. People are dying. They're dying earlier. particularly the higher number of deaths in younger people, they say, and communities of color. That's the Washington Post. So it's no wonder why it's such a dangerous time. It's a very dangerous time, especially for folks who are pushing disinformation and misinformation online. They've got to be stopped. Stopped at all costs. Department of Homeland Security is urging now Americans to report family members. Orwell would be so proud. I mean, this is where we are. Well, you got to report your family members who are spreading the dangerous misinformation and disinformation. Report them. Report them now, folks. Don't let this go too long, because this is so dangerous. It could cost lives. There is a new video out that's talking about this, apparently, and they're asking people, like me and you, to go out there and make the report known. More disinformation, dangerous disinformation floating around online. Yes, it is happening, and we've got to stay vigilant. All of us, we need to stay vigilant, folks. I know what you're thinking. Not on my watch. None of this dangerous disinformation should be on my watch.
From a business standpoint, and we hear this term all the time, a problem like disinformation, fighting disinformation, really requires a whole of society response. And I know whole of society is a little bit cliche and a term that gets thrown around a lot.
Wow.
Addressing disinformation requires a whole of society approach.
Oh, whole of society.
Not going to be fixed by governments acting alone.
This means ratting on your family members, your neighbors. Rat on them if they're not thinking or displaying the current narrative of the day, the official narrative of the day. It's time to report them.
I think we've seen that a whole of society effort is really key to the solution.
That's the only way we're getting through this.
In Europe or up in other parts of North America that are more progressive in recognizing that this is a whole society challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Whole of society approach, and what would be your wish list if you could implement anything?
There were some really progressive countries in Europe back in the 1940s that had some really wild options as well. I would say Europe would be the testing ground, the place where we should look for some of our best ideas when it comes to these things.
Or to be able to trust when somebody tells them it's fake. Is there anything that governments can do on that front? Absolutely. This is a whole of society problem. So there's things that governments can do, individual, national governments and multilateral institutions.
You get possibly the idea here that Klaus Schwab and his cronies at the World Economic Forum or some other crazy body somewhere said, okay, today our buzzwords are whole of society approach. Whole of society. Do you get that maybe somebody was out there pushing? These people aren't smart enough to come up with things like that on their own. No, this has all been tested. It's been probed. And of course, now it's been pushed out there. Propaganda for you, me, and the rest of us to just suck up and enjoy. Oh, it's a whole of society approach.
Disinformation challenges to democracy require that we work together as a community to share our experiences and to hold governments, social media platforms, and political leaders accountable to making sure that people are empowered with information that is real and accurate. Democracy depends on a healthy information space that can only be achieved through a whole of society effort.
Countering disinformation.
Here she is, the ministress of truth. Look at her, the TikToker of truth. Pushed out of her own position. People laughed at it. Democracy, by the way. We don't have a democracy in America. We get something completely different. Now, I know they want a democracy. They want to make you think that people have voted on these things and they've come together at the conclusion we all have to just lockstep join one another. But that's not what we have here. We have a democratic republic. A republic, if you can keep it. That's what we have. We don't have a democracy. 9 people get together, 5 of them vote to kill the other 4. We could do it. It's not a big deal. It's democracy, folks. That's democracy in action. 9 people get together and they say, you know, we're going to take the homes of those other 4 for the whole of society approach, for the good of society, the whole of society. We got to take the homes and the property, and the firstborn children of the other 4. It's really for the good of everyone here together. It's for the whole of society. That's what democracy would be. You could vote whatever you want into place. It's called mob rule. That's the other word for it. Mob rule. But the truth is, the people who hate freedom the most, the people who have the most power right now, and of course, some of the most wealthy in some cases, they just want complete and total control. So what they've done is they've stepped forward to push you and me, set us against each other, pin us against each other, and set us to fight each other so that we don't actually ever wake up to think about who we're really being controlled by and who these policies are being pushed by. But it's time we wake up. And, you know, I mean, in a whole of society sort of way.
Often talk about a whole of society response. Of course, we need
this information, a whole of society approach. I want to get into the quote, whole of society response, that whole of society network response, private sector, public sector, civil society.
Memes that we're circulating. And that to me is the whole of society approach.
I think the solution has to be whole of society, which is a word that we throw around a lot, especially in venues like these, right? We need cooperation from the tech platforms, good faith cooperation and enforcement of terms of service. But we also need people in the government who are willing to say, yes, this is a problem, and it's not just about foreign actors.
Collusion. It's not cooperation, it's collusion. That's the word you're looking for. So, yes, the Department of Homeland Security wants you to rat out your neighbors, your family members. This is more division. It's all really designed to push us further apart again and continue that divide, because divide and conquer, that's the best way to do it, right? Consider this post from Susan's feed. It's from her Uncle Steve. The CISA video established as a resource to stop the nation's greatest homeland security threats shows a young woman, Susan, sitting at a computer. Her Uncle Steve has posted something online. It claims, quote, everybody knows COVID is no worse than the flu. The video's narrator says before listing the logical fallacies allegedly committed by Susan's uncle. Quote, comparing a pandemic virus to a seasonal virus also commits the fallacy of weak analogy because the two viruses have telling differences, the video's narrator notes. Steve fails to share those differences, committing the fallacy of suppressed evidence. Finally, unless Steve is an infectious disease expert, he is also committing a fallacy of appeal to authority. He is presenting this information as if he were an expert in the field when he is not. Susan doubts her uncle's claims, but she isn't an infectious disease expert either. Whatever is she to do? Folks, what this is saying is you, nor I, anyone has any right to think for ourselves. You don't have the right to an opinion. You certainly don't have the right to voice that opinion. You don't have those rights. In fact, here in the new world, we have a right from your opinions. We have a right to a safe and secure internet experience online. We have a right from we have a freedom from your opinions. It's like freedom from religion. We don't want your religion. We don't want your opinions. We only want one. Bow to the state. You don't need to think anymore, folks. In a day and age where we're outsourcing everything, why would you think? Just log online and get ready to take the feed of your opinions for the day. One of the greatest things about this program is the chat. Behind the scenes live stream, it happens every day. In fact, here we are, you and I, we have these conversations. I tell you what I think. You tell me what you think. And of course, we have those great conversations in the chat. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, YouTube, as long as they allow us. JustinBarclay.com as well. You can find us all on all those platforms at Mr. Justin Barclay. There's so many different thoughts and opinions that come up. I mean, we even let trolls stick around sometimes. But the brave new world that we're heading towards, they think freedom of thought is a crime. The article goes on to say, numerous Department of Homeland Security training sessions for state and local election officials uncovered by the FFO instructed these individuals to report disinformation within their communities to the Department of Homeland Security. During the same trainings, the DHS brought out its partner, the Harvard Belfer Center, which also encouraged the mass reporting of social media posts by U.S. citizens. Quote, when North Korea engages in this practice, the U.S. State Department calls for sanctions. But when the U.S. State Department of Homeland Security, does its right here to Americans, it's rebranded as an upbeat buzz term, building resilience. Not resilience from cyber attacks, resilience from your mind being influenced by Uncle Steve, because believing Uncle Steve would somehow undermine public trust in the U.S. government. You see, folks, Uncle Steve is the problem. Oh, Grump, I know you're not a troll. You may be grumpy, but you're not a troll. And you're welcome here anytime. Well, some dangerous information, not disinformation, but real life information has just come out. According to this report, Fox News and Newsmax took Biden money. There's a question about this. People are wondering why. Why in the world? Why didn't Fox News ever report anything negative about the jab? Why didn't they even entertain questions? It's just recently that Tucker Carlson has felt like he could be able to come out and talk about these things, and I applaud him for doing that. Newsmax, they would never let you push or question election issues, and of course, they definitely wouldn't let you talk about this stuff. Well, there's a reason why, they say. Corporate news outlets didn't disclose the money they took to push dangerous drugs to their conservative audience. Now, normally this would be an FTC violation. Anytime we do anything on the radio or television or even on a broadcast like this on the internet, you're really supposed to disclose that you're getting some sort of compensation for it. That's why sometimes online you'll see people post like hashtag ad, or you'll see certain things like, even if it's small print at the end of a television show, promotional consideration is brought to you by such and such and such for, for the wardrobe or for things in exchange for money or whatever it might have been. Promotional consideration. It's at the end. It's small print at the end of the television show. Lots of different shows. But you need to know that the thing that you're watching has actually been paid for and was an ad. The Federal Trade Commission would talk about those things. 2 days ago, Chris Pandolfo of the Blaze Media revealed that his media organization had filed FOIA requests regarding the Biden administration's covert funding of the deadly new jabs and the American corporate media. What they discovered will certainly shock you. It's a crucial story that our corrupt media will work hard to make the least covered and least discussed news story of the year, he says. Actually, I think this was Emerald did this one, I think. This is from Substack. What did Chris Pandolfo find? Well, he discovered that nearly the entire corporate media took money from the Biden administration to push the jabs to their audiences without disclosing it. More importantly, so-called conservative media organizations took money from the Biden administration to spin positive stories about deadly and ineffective jabs to their conservative viewers who are right to be suspicious, she says, and not disclose it. Fox News took the money and said nothing to its conservative viewers. Newsmax took the money and said nothing to theirs. In response to the FOIA request filed by The Blaze, HHS revealed that it purchased advertising from major news networks, including ABC, CBS, NBC, as well as cable TV news stations, Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC. Legacy media publications, including the New York Post, the Los Angeles Times, and the Washington Post, digital media companies like BuzzFeed News and Newsmax, and hundreds of local newspapers and TV stations. These outlets were collectively responsible for publishing countless articles and video segments regarding the vaccine that were nearly uniformly positive about it, and in terms of both its efficacy and safety. And we've learned a lot, haven't we? We have learned a lot. The largest and most comprehensive breach of journalistic ethics, she calls it, that has ever occurred. Almost everybody took the money. I will tell you who didn't. I didn't. Our company, the company itself, got paid. We ran advertisement after advertisement. We ran so many of them. People said to me, oh my gosh, I'm tired of it. I can't listen to these anymore. I have to turn the commercials off whenever I hear them. Not only did we take the money from our state, but we took the money from our federal. We took the money from private organizations who were getting the money from the state and the federal. There was all of this money just flowing through and lots of it. And we're a for-profit organization. So at the end of the day, the company really had a fiduciary responsibility to its investors to take the money. But they never told me what I could or couldn't talk about. They never told me what I could or couldn't talk about. Although I was approached at one point by someone who asked if I would take money to talk about and encourage others to get the jab. And I said no. In fact, it was a pretty easy no. Because at this time, I'd been I thought, reasonable. At this time, I thought I was the only adult in the room saying to people, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't think you should listen to a talking head on the radio or on TV or anywhere else. I said that I thought that people should have conversations with their trusted healthcare provider. Now, we know that doctors, many of them been swayed. But I have other folks that are also trusted healthcare providers in my circle, chiropractors, naturopathic individuals, nurses, folks who are speaking up. I never took the money. Number one, it wasn't enough for me to take. I mean, if you would have dumped a dump truck load of cash on my yard, maybe we'd be having a different conversation, but it just wasn't enough. And I'm sorry, but I'm not selling out even for a dump truck load of money. Well, I don't know. Maybe just depending on how much it is. I haven't seen it yet. So, but no, of course not. No, Glenn Beck didn't ban it. I'm sure they didn't. I don't. It's easy. It's easy to tell who did it by what they pushed. Okay. And but the other thing is by what they refused to cover. I mean, we had stories popping up that were I thought very concerning. Why aren't we covering these? Why aren't we talking about this stuff? Why are we not allowed to talk about some of these things? Really interesting. And then when they started pushing it and mandating it, I knew this is not good. Anything that's good, you don't have to force people to do. You know, they had a convention center here in town. Convention center here in town. That was for the beginning when people it was tough to get the jabs. They had people had to make appointments, and because there was such a demand, they had to they had to kind of line it all up, and so eventually we got to a point where after the first a small percentage of people that were really just foaming at the mouth to get the thing. Now, maybe there were people who had major medical issues or they were older and they felt like it was going to help. It was sold to them that they were going to be able to get their lives back. Remember that, right? They were running out to get it. I'm not gonna second guess why people did what they did, because they were being completely manipulated from top to bottom. I'm not going to blame people. I'm not going to question their decisions. You got to do what you got to do. What's best for you. That's what's called freedom, right? That's what liberty is all about. But at one point, I kept thinking to myself, if this thing was so bad, it was so deadly, and it was so dangerous, wouldn't they have to have armed guards at that convention center, keeping the peace? Stopping people from beating down the doors? I mean, if it was so serious that people were dropping dead like flies on the streets, that's the way it was being pushed to us. If it was that bad, wouldn't they have needed people to be standing guard there so that people weren't breaking in to get demanding their jab? The logic, this stuff just did not add up and never passed the sniff test. Now that the jabs have been shown to be not only dangerous and ineffective, but highly dangerous, the American public would naturally expect the American news media to do some investigation into the biggest medical experiment in the history of the world, right? She says. No, that's not going to happen. I believe this is Emerald Robinson who wrote this. The American corporate media has been paid off by the Biden administration and so then Ukraine war footage 24/7 in the hope that the American public will forget the last 2 years of media-manufactured COVID mania. Let me add some personal details, she says, to the largest corporate media scandal of the year. I've been contacted by a whistleblower inside Newsmax who has confirmed the broad details of the story. That insider confirms Newsmax executives agreed to take the money from Biden's Health and Human Services to push only positive coverage of the COVID vaccines. Let me add another personal detail. I was contacted by Newsmax executives and told to halt any negative coverage of the jabs in 2021. I was told that if it was problematic, that it was problematic for Newsmax. I was given some version of this warning multiple times by multiple executives. Obviously, I did not heed their advice. Of course, everyone else employed in the corporate media did keep their mouths shut. I discussed the outright ban on negative vaccine coverage with the other Newsmax producers and top anchors at the time, and they were aware they could not provide negative coverage of the news on jabs without repercussions from the network. I was contacted by PR experts who worked with Newsmax and was told that medical experts and doctors who might say negative things about the new jabs would not be booked as guests at all. In other words, the Biden administration's money did not just pay for pro-vaccine advertising at outlets like Fox and Newsmax. It paid for an outright ban on any negative coverage. There's a word for that kind of thing. And the word is propaganda, she says. Corporate news executives with no medical training and no expertise began to make ludicrous announcements that were basically blanket endorsements of the deadly and untested jabs, she calls them. Pandolfo describes this propaganda. Other publications, such as Los Angeles Times, feature advice from experts on how readers could convince vaccine-hesitant people in their lives to change their minds. The Washington Post covered the pro-vaccine messages people want to hear. Newsmax had reported how the vaccines have, quote, been demonstrated to be safe and effective and, quote, encouraged citizens, especially those at risk, to get immunized. Health and Human Services did not immediately respond when asked if the agency used taxpayer dollars to pay for people to be interviewed or for a PR firm to place them in an interview with news outlets. Shelley says we survived the most expensive propaganda campaign in history. Be proud. It ain't over yet. Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy even wrote an op-ed to celebrate Joe Biden's vaccine rollout and praised Biden's high poll numbers. This op-ed was basically a personal plea for the American public to take medical advice from a news organization that was secretly taking money from the Biden administration to say positive things about the dangerous drugs. At Newsmax, we have strongly advocated for the public to be vaccinated. The many medical experts who have appeared on our network have been near unanimous in support of the vaccine, Ruddy said. I myself have gotten the Pfizer vaccine. There's no question in my mind countless lives would have been saved if the vaccine was available earlier. Meanwhile, Fox News executives are continuing to enforce vaccine mandates with their own employees. Even though the mandates have been halted by the courts, Fox is offering $500 to any employee right now who proves they got the jab. We've just lived through the most expensive propaganda campaign in the history of the world, and it was paid for with taxpayer dollars. You paid for it. I paid for it. We will probably never know how much money was spent because, according to a source familiar with the FOIAs, the Biden administration won't release the amounts under the trade secrets exemption. I've been telling people for the last 2 years that when the truth comes out about the deadly COVID vaccines, it will topple the American corporate media. She says, now you know what I was talking about. I'll put that up on the stack, too. That is worth a read. Safe and effective. What's happening in Canada right now? Let me see. Speaking of the jabs, a new study published this week titled Excess Mortality in Germany 2020 to 2022 uses actuarial science to estimate how many all-cause deaths in 2020 and 2022 there would have been absent the pandemic. Then it compares the number of actual all-cause deaths with the no-pandemic figure, building the excess mortality in Germany for the pandemic years 2020 to 2022. Here's what the research concluded. Something must have happened in April 2021 that led to a sudden and sustained increase in mortality in the age groups below 80 years, although no such effects on mortality had been observed during the COVID-19 pandemic so far. In other words, there's just a mysterious cause of death floating around in Germany. They're not quite sure. It must be so baffling. More sudden and unexpected deaths. Scottish cyclist Rob Wardell, 37, died in bed last week from a sudden and unexpected heart. Cyclist. These people are the healthiest of healthy. His partner, Katie, described him as healthy and happy. She was dumbfounded by his sudden passing, saying, quote, I still don't understand what happened, if this is real. Posted on Twitter, I think you've heard that Rab died yesterday morning. I still don't understand what's happened, if this is real. Why'd he be taken now? So healthy and happy. He went into cardiac arrest while we were laying in bed. I tried and tried, and the paramedics tried. You know how we got here. Now you know causes. By the way, this is all dangerous. What I'm telling you right now is all dangerous. Dangerous disinformation. Any question of authority. Dangerous disinformation. Don't let it, seriously, do not let this get out, folks. Whatever you do, don't share this. It'd be a shame if anybody else heard what we were discussing this morning. Longtime San Francisco Chronicle business and sports editor Al Saracevic, 52, died suddenly and unexpectedly Saturday after collapsing at a concert in San Francisco's Mission District. Talented new South African actress Charlie Dean, 32, whose upcoming movie recently won the Palme d'Or Awards at Cannes. gave up the ghost Monday in New York City from a sudden, unexpected, and undisclosed illness. The Canadian Globe and Mail reported the next baffling development yesterday in a story headline: routine vaccination rates for children, teens in Canada dropped dramatically since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I wonder why. Not just the jab for the Rona, but all of them. Look, HP, 2017-18, 2019-20. Hepatitis B. Then this little one down here, this is 2020-21. Look at this. Isn't that something? It's incredible. You know, the Globe, school vaccination rates in Canada aren't just down a little, they're down a lot. The Globe blames the lower rates on pandemic-related disruptions. It's the pandemic, after all, folks. We know that's what the issue is. School closings, read access to physicians' offices, and misinformation. There it is again. But it doesn't get into exactly what misinformation it might be making parents suddenly hesitant to jab their kids with dozens of no-liability injections. Weird. Baffling. Unexplainable. It has nothing to do whatsoever with all those young and dead doctors in Canada that they're growing by the numbers each day. So shame on you for even thinking about that. Some people might chalk this up as just another unexpected benefit of the pandemic. No. Folks, it is constantly something new. Every day. We're constantly learning about these stories, making people question. They're slowly opening their eyes, and I hope it's not too late for many of them. Got to pray for these people. Pray for our country. Speaking of Canada, you know, it's just a strange story, but this is part of it. A woman with chemical sensitivity chose medically assisted death after failed better housing. This story, let me see if I type this in so you can get some of this. Woman, chemical sensitivity. CTV News out of Canada. 51-year-old death wish. That's the story. 51-year-old Ontario woman with severe sensitivities to chemicals. Folks, I'm going to say this in plain English. Allergies. Now, I'm not making fun of whatever she was going through. I know allergies can be very, they can be troubling for a lot, but specifically chemicals, things like that. I understand there's issues. She chose death, but listen to why. In Canada, that you can die, they can kill you. Assisted suicide, it's illegal. Euthanasia is what they call it. But do you think that any of these things are connected? I mean, just a strange world that we're in today. 51-year-old Ontario woman with severe sensitivities to chemicals chose medically assisted death after her desperate search for affordable housing free of cigarette smoke and chemical cleaners failed. So she was looking to get out of the apartment or place where she was looking for affordable housing free of cigarette smoke and chemical cleaners because of her sensitivities to chemicals. She chose to kill herself because she couldn't find affordable housing free from chemicals and cigarette smoke. The woman's assisted, and they said, yeah, no problem, we can do this. Yeah, the ghoulish authorities There in Canada said, yeah, no problem. We can do this for you. Yeah, we got you. Not an issue at all. The woman's assisted death appears to be a first in the world for someone diagnosed with multiple chemical sensitivities, a chronic condition also referred to as environmental illness or environmental allergies, say patient support groups and doctors familiar with her case. The government sees me as expendable trash, a complainer, a useless, and a pain in the ass, Sophia said in a video filmed on February 14th, 8 days before her death. She died after a frantic effort by friends, supporters, and even her doctors to get her safe and affordable housing in Toronto. She also left behind letters showing a desperate 2-year search for help, in which she begs local, provincial, and federal officials for assisting in finding a home away from the smoke and chemicals wafting through her apartment. Sophia asked a supporter to share her correspondence with the media, but asked that her real name not be used to protect her family. She also did not want media attention prior to her death, say friends fearing eviction and delay of her medically assisted death. This person begged for help for years, 2 years, wrote everywhere, called everyone, asking for healthy housing, said Rohini Pari, president of the Environmental Health Association of Quebec. Pari says she spoke to Sophia daily after finding out the woman had applied for and been approved for a medically assisted death. The Quebec group was assisting Ontario patients with MCS after a similar Ontario organization shut down years ago due to a lack of funding. It's not that she didn't want to live, Pari said. She couldn't live that way. Research shows that many symptoms of MCS dissipate when chemicals are removed from a person's environment. But like Canadians all across the country, Sophia had to spend a lot of time at home because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And CTV bravely adds and related restrictions. I mean, that's just, I can't believe they had the guts to put that in there. It wasn't the pandemic. It was the restrictions. It was Justin Trudeau. It was the government. So any of you folks, by the way, Canada's got it. Free health care, free house, she had it all. Canada's got it. This is how it ends. Death. This is how it ends. So you folks who are all aboard this socialist train nonsense, what do you think happens when you get cancer in Canada? Do you get your treatment? You get it right away? No, you end up on a list and you have to wait and they have to figure out whether or not you're worth saving. Yeah, I mean, it's this is not... People think it's like some sort of utopian world. Tammy says in the chat, nothing is free. Yeah, you're right about that. And boy, the cost on this one, you just don't even want to think about. COVID-19's latest bizarre side effect, restless. Oh, I can't even say it. I can't even say this. But I'll try and say it the best way I can. I know it's a medical term, but I don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's family friendly. Let me say it that way. Restless rear end syndrome. The latest COVID-19 symptom is about, as the New York Post puts it, but it's no joke. A newly published medical report by doctors in Japan has revealed a mysterious condition associated with a disease called restless rear end syndrome. That's what I'm calling it. Its name is likened to the more commonly discussed restless leg syndrome. It describes exactly one 77-year-old patient's afflictions. The man had only recently checked out of the Tokyo Medical University Hospital following a 21-day stent while ill with COVID-19, but despite having fully recovered from the virus, he returned to report uncomfortable new symptoms. He told physicians that he began suffering deep discomfort in his rear. That's just the Biden administration, folks. That's just the government altogether. A pain in the you-know-what. The area between his... Yeah, I can't get into some of this. Basically, what he was saying is he was prompting him with an essential urge to go to the bathroom, which gave him no relief. According to the paper available to read via BMC Infectious Diseases, as days passed, the patient observed that physical activity seemed to relieve his rear end, while lying low only increased his discomfort, which also spiked during the evening hours. Colonoscopy showed the man had internal hemorrhoids, but that didn't explain his spasms. His nervous system has also appeared to be in working order. COVID-19 is known for causing a shockwave of side effects, some of which are neurological, including loss of taste, smell, and brain fog. Is there any doubt that this is a bit of a biological weapon at this point? Is there any doubt that this was, I mean, the lab stuff now? I mean, we can't, is anybody realistically doubting any of this? I just can't imagine. Doctors reckon his awkward condition must be neurological, noting that symptoms had manifested similar to RLS, restless leg syndrome. But they said no, his nerves looked fine. Neurologically, he was okay. The connection between the disease and RLS is not yet understood. But this may be one of the first documented cases. Restless leg syndrome said to occur in at least 3 million Americans, and symptoms may occur elsewhere on the body, such as arms or even face. Some experts believe the condition is vastly underreported. They believe that 7 to 8% in the U.S. are living with this form of restless leg syndrome. But who knows about nearly all Americans are living with the pain in the you-know-what, that is, our government. Shelley says, can someone please say April Fools? Colette, I was trying to avoid using those words. You thought it was a joke, but it ain't. Somebody hoping that it was. It's not IBS, Ruth. It wasn't that, but this is the cure to get you off your butt. They said. Now, if they can only just inject this into some of the folks, the millennials and some of those others. Get off the couch. A tomato shortage in 2022 could be making hard to catch up. Okay, who writes this stuff? Ketchup and salsa would be soon hard to find, according to this article in CNET. Just to add another one to your list. Ketchup and salsa now. What's causing the tomato shortage? California, leading tomato producer state in the U.S., is responsible for more than 90% of the tomatoes grown domestically, but the state's ongoing drought, it's climate change. That's what it is, folks. It could possibly be man-made government interference in the flow of the rivers there, could it, that possibly causes. No, it couldn't be that. No, it's a drought responsible for lower supply of tomatoes this year. Without rainwater, farmers have been forced to let their tomato crops go thirsty. Roughly 37% of farmers are killing existing crops due to dry conditions, according to CNN. There you have it. So ketchup, pizza sauce. Oh, no. Pizza? Oh, no. Salsa, spaghetti sauce, tomato sauce. You'll likely see a price increase on these products, they say. A shortage. I think there's all of this man-made shortages, all of these issues. Over and over again. Look, I don't know what's coming. I've said it before over and over. I'll tell you again, preparewithjustin.com. No matter what we face, shortages, Biden inflation continuing to go through the roof. Make sure your family's fed. Make sure you're prepared. My Patriots supply. Save $250. Lowest price 3 years on our 3-month food supply. It's good for 25 years on a shelf. It's great stuff. The food tastes pretty good, too. And I had tried some of this stuff before. It's actually pretty good. 2,000 calories a day. You can grab your 3-month emergency food supply by going to preparewithjustin.com. That's preparewithjustin.com to make sure that you and your family are prepared today. And every time you do, you obviously help support us and the program as well. Preparewithjustin.com. My Patriot Supply. Good news? Yes, I actually have some good news. Let me see which one I want to do first. Ohio grand jury has affirmed the stand your ground law, refusing to indict a man who shot someone in his home. Listen to this story. This is incredible. This is a man that came in, his daughter's ex, broke into their home. Now, as a father of a daughter, I'm going to show each and every young man that comes a-courting, I'm going to show him my collection. I may, in fact, be on the front porch polishing my shotgun when they approach. An Ohio man will not face criminal charges even after he fatally shot his daughter's ex-boyfriend who had broken into their home. July 31st, approximately 11 in the morning, James Rail stood on the front porch of his ex-girlfriend's house in Sydney, Ohio, about 40 minutes north of Dayton. Rail rang the doorbell repeatedly, briefly left the porch, returned, and then began attempting to break through the door with his shoulder. Meanwhile, the homeowner, Michael Duckrow, stood on the other side of the door and asked Rail to leave his property. He also warned the young man that he was armed. When Rail finally managed to breach the deadbolt lock, Duckrow fired his gun again, shot Rail 3 times, once in each shoulder and once in the back. Rail then staggered to the driveway. He collapsed. He died within minutes. The entire harrowing scene, including Duckrow's warnings, was captured on front door camera. His daughter, Allison, can also be heard asking her father, "Dad, is he trying to kill me?" After Rail was shot, Allison told her father, "Dad, there's nothing you could have done. You saved my life." Shelby County Prosecutor Tim Sells showed the grand jury the front door camera footage as well as the 911 call tape. The grand jury voted 8-1 not to indict, citing Ohio's stand your ground law and the Castle Doctrine, which affirms the right of homeowners to use lethal force against those who threaten their safety or property. The video itself has since been removed from YouTube. Despite the evidence demonstrating Rail posed an immediate threat to Duckrow and their property, some in Rail's family remain convinced that Duckrow should have been indicted. You should absolutely be ashamed of your actions all around. Rail's sister, Jessica Marie Colbert, wrote on Facebook, "Every single one of you connected to the Duckrow family that has no regard for my family whatsoever." Well, this is the man who was shot, the man who was trying to break in and do God knows what to his daughter. According to Fox News, Allison Duckrow had broken up with Rail about 18 months ago, the night before the incident. Rail had called Allison and left her a voicemail. The contents of the message are unknown. But there you have it. Another piece of good news. A man defending yet again his family, defending his daughter, did the right thing. And the grand jury did too. About a month ago, a lottery ticket, you probably remember this, sold for the second largest Mega Millions jackpot ever, netted the winner nearly $1.34 billion. Just one problem. The prize hasn't been claimed yet. Isn't that something? Well, it's not mine, because I tell you one thing. I'd be on an island somewhere. I'd be on an island somewhere right now. Now, I'd probably still be doing this from like my tiki hut or something, you know. but I probably would have a few less complaints. Lots of new information, by the way. You can always text me. Brand new phone line. It's 616-636-1676. If you'd like to text me at 616-636-1676. You can follow us anywhere, including Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, even at Mr. Justin Barclay. Just look for me there. Somebody asking in the text messages, any update on the Michigan, the State Board of Canvassers meeting today to discuss the abortion petition. It's an extreme radical petition that would end up on the ballot. No, they're still holding hearings on that. In fact, I can show you a little bit of this if you
got a lot of energy, Sandra. I'll give you that.
If you like. Some of the hearings that are taking place, in fact, in Lansing today, they're hearing from
in here, okay. And
public comment.
Michelle?
This will probably continue for the next, who knows how long.
Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Warner. I'm from Riverview. My spelling of my name is Lisa Werner. And I can
Lisa,
sit here.
Brooke, do you swear to
sorry.
tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
So help you
God
okay?
bless.
Go ahead.
I can sit here and give you a million reasons why the reproductive freedom for all amendment is dangerous to all women, all children, and all of Michigan. But that's not why we are here. We are here to make known that we, the people of Michigan, are very aware of the numerous errors plaguing this petition. By allowing this petition with 43 errors to be passed and put on the ballot, I'm sorry, I should have pulled my paper out. Be entered into the Constitution will make Michigan a laughing stock to this country. Let's do the right thing and vote no on this mess and make Michigan a lighthouse to the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Public comment continues there in Lansing. That'll still continue, I think, until they're done. It looks like a room full of people, both for and against. And as you just heard that woman say, Lisa, there were numerous errors on that petition. 43, in fact. That's really what the fight is about, whether or not this particular petition that was sort of rushed. They had quite a few signatures. In fact, there were quite a few of the signatures that they did get that were not valid, yet they had plenty to actually make it on the ballot. The signatures weren't the issue. The language was. Whether or not this board, which is comprised of 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, whether or not they'll vote to put it on is yet to be seen. Very likely that they could split on this. And if they did split on this is definitely something to pray for. If they did split on this, this is an issue that would end up being decided by the courts. Now, I'm not very optimistic that the courts are going to rule the right way on this, because we just saw a judge the other day, a very liberal, progressive, activist judge the other day, weigh in on abortion as it stands. We currently have a law on the books, 1931 law, and this judge said, no, you don't have to follow that law. In fact, he banned and barred prosecutors from actually following the law. Some organizations, Faith to Action, one of them, saying a call to action, asking folks to contact Michigan Board of Canvassers in order to stop the Reproductive Freedom for All Amendment. That's what they're calling it, at their August 31st meeting. That's being held today. They've got different phone numbers, etc. I will post that on my stack as well later today. But here are some of the notes that if you want to take a screenshot right here, I'll leave this up. Maybe you can take a screenshot of your phone. There's the phone number. Here's the email, and they are asking people to show up. That is the public comment that is happening right now. So leave this up just for a few more moments. That way you can take a screenshot there. That is from the report from earlier today. Somebody just asked that on a text message, so I want to make sure that I got that for you as well. All right, want to thank our sponsors today for coming forward and making this program possible. There's so many great folks, of course, preparewithjustin.com, folks at Patriots Switch. Over 2 million monthly shoppers have already made the switch. They decided to get away from the big box stores, the woke conglomerates. You know, every day we vote. We talk about how important elections are. Well, every day we vote with our dollars. If we continue to fund these organizations who want nothing but the worst for us, we're going to continue to get what we got and probably worse. That's why folks are making the switch away from the big box stores and the big conglomerates. And you can help make a difference today, too. When you go to patriotswitch.com, you put in your name, your number, and your email. And yes, you'll click my name from How Did You Hear About Us? Justin Barclay. Click my name from that growing list of folks who are talking about and spreading the word about how you can make the switch. Patriotswitch.com. That's patriotswitch.com. Thanks to the folks at patriotswitch.com for helping make a difference today. And anytime you support any of these sponsors, including patriotswitch.com, you help support me. Folks have asked about how they can do that. New ways to do so online. JustinBarclay.com. You can sign up for Locals, which is free, and you can decide to become a supporter inside Locals. Support us monthly or annually inside the Locals app, but you can also give in a donation link here on the website, justinbarclay.com, to help support our online programs, getting the word out on these stories that matter most. A great way to do it. Somebody asked me about that this weekend. And then brand new tees are out. Yes, new T-shirts, and we've lowered the price. It's incredible. Everybody else is raising their prices right now, whether you get the unredacted Justin T, the FBI. Somebody pointed this out earlier. It's the FBI Biden T-shirt. But it also, if you look at it one other way, it looks like F Biden. Yeah. Or the fully MAGA Make America Great Again redacted T-shirts. They're all available online, and you support us either way at justinbarclay.com. Make it a great day, folks. God bless.